The diary was hidden behind a loose floorboard in my sister's closet. I wasn't snooping, not really. I was looking for a heating pad. My back had seized up from sleeping on my mother's hospital recliner, and Chloe always kept one in her room. The floorboard creaked under my foot, shifted, and there it was. A small, leather-bound journal with a tiny brass lock. The lock was broken, hanging by a single screw. I told myself not to look. I told myself it was private. But my mother was dying 2 rooms away, withering by the day, and Chloe had been acting strange for months. Distant, impatient, almost eager. I opened the diary. The first pages were mundane. Work stress, boyfriend drama, complaints about our mother's endless neediness. But as I flipped forward, the handwriting changed, looser, more frantic. The entries grew shorter, darker. Another visit. She's still here. How much longer can this take? Doctor said maybe weeks. I can't wait weeks. My hand started shaking. I kept reading. Found a forum. People talk about this. It's not poison, exactly. Just accelerating things. Natural ingredients. No trace. I ordered the supplies yesterday. The room tilted. I grabbed the edge of her bed, forced myself to breathe. No trace. Natural ingredients. Accelerating things. The words bounced around my skull like shrapnel. I thought about the specialties Chloe made for our mother. The herbal supplements she insisted on. The way she'd hover, watching, until every drop was gone. I thought about how much worse our mother had gotten in the past month, the weakness, the confusion, the sudden, alarming decline her doctors couldn't explain. I kept reading because I had to know. The next entry was dated 3 weeks ago. It's working. She's weaker. The hospice nurse mentioned she seemed peaceful. Peaceful. She has no idea. None of them do. I'm so close. 3 weeks. My mother had been peaceful while her own daughter slowly killed her. I felt vomit rise in my throat. I shoved the diary back into its hiding place, replaced the floorboard, and stumbled to the bathroom. I stayed there for a long time, kneeling on the cold tile, trying to reconcile the sister I thought I knew with the monster in those pages. Chloe and I had never been close. 5 years apart, different fathers, different temperaments. I was the responsible one, the accountant, the caregiver, the daughter who moved back home when Mom got sick. Chloe was the baby, the free spirit, the one who floated in and out of our lives like a migratory bird. She'd show up for holidays, stay a weekend, then vanish again. When Mom's diagnosis came, stage for pancreatic cancer, 6 months if we were lucky, Chloe surprised us all. She moved back home. She got a job at a local cafe. She became a fixture at the hospital, then at the house when we brought Mom home for hospice care. I was touched. I was grateful. I thought she'd finally grown up. Now I knew the truth. She hadn't come home to care for our mother, she'd come home to cash in. Our mother wasn't wealthy, but she was comfortable, the house, paid off, a small retirement fund. A life insurance policy, nothing huge. But enough to matter, enough to split 2 ways, enough to kill for, apparently. I didn't confront Chloe that night. I couldn't. I went back to my mother's room, sat in the recliner, and watched her sleep. Her breath was shallow, rattling, each inhale a small victory. I held her hand and wondered how many of those breaths were stolen. I wondered if she knew. I wondered if, somewhere in the fog of pain and medication, she'd sensed the betrayal. The next morning, I started my investigation. I waited until Chloe left for her shift at the cafe. Then I went through her room systematically. The diary was still there. I photographed every page with my phone. Then I looked for the supplies. Under her bed, in a locked box I pried open with a screwdriver, I found them. Small glass vials labelled with Latin names I didn't recognize. A digital scale with trace residue. A mortar and pestle. A notebook with recipes, doses, combinations, timing instructions. It was a laboratory. A murder lab, hidden under my sister's bed while my mother died 2 rooms away. I called a friend from college, a pharmacist named Derek. I sent him photos of the vials. He called back within the hour, his voice tight. "Where did you get these? Just tell me what they are. Some of them are supplements. Harmless in small doses. But combined in the quantities you showed me, they'd cause progressive organ failure. Symptoms would mimic end-stage cancer. No one would question it. No one would test for it." He paused. Whoever put this together knew what they were doing. This isn't amateur hour. No, it wasn't. It was my sister, my baby sister, who I'd taught to ride a bike, who I'd bailed out of jail, who I'd forgiven 100 times for 1,000 small betrayals. She wasn't just stealing our inheritance, she was murdering our mother, slowly, methodically. Right under my nose. I didn't go to the police, not yet. The evidence was strong, but it wasn't ironclad. Chloe could claim the supplies were for research, for a project, for anything. And if I tipped her off, she'd destroy everything and walk free. My mother would die, and Chloe would get away with it. I couldn't let that happen. I needed a plan. I needed proof so airtight that even the best lawyer couldn't poke holes. And I needed to protect my mother right now, tonight. I started by replacing the vials. I bought identical containers, filled them with harmless supplements I ordered online, and swapped them out while Chloe was at work. The real evidence went into a safety deposit box at a bank Chloe didn't know I used. Then I started documenting everything. Every tea Chloe made. Every supplement she administered. I took photos. I kept a journal, time-stamped and detailed. I even set up a small camera in the corner of my mother's room, hidden behind a bookshelf, aimed at her bedside table where Chloe always placed the tea. For 2 weeks, I watched my sister try to kill our mother. I watched her prepare the drinks, her movements calm and practiced. I watched her hover, waiting, until every drop was gone. I watched her check our mother's pulse afterward, her face unreadable. And I watched, in real time, as our mother continued to decline not from the cancer, but from the poison I'd removed. The decline was psychosomatic, the doctors said. The body giving up. But I knew the truth. Her body was giving up because her daughter had already killed her spirit. The breaking point came on a Thursday night. Chloe sat with our mother for hours, holding her hand, crying softly. It was such a convincing performance. A grieving daughter saying goodbye. I stood in the doorway, watching, and felt nothing but cold, crystalline rage. When Chloe finally left, I went to my mother's side. Her eyes fluttered open. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for a moment, the fog cleared. "Claire," she whispered. "Be careful." My blood ran cold. Of what, Mom? But she was gone again, lost in the haze. Those 2 words were the last coherent thing she ever said. 3 days later, she died. Peacefully, the hospice nurse said. Surrounded by family. I stood in the corner, watching Chloe sob into our mother's chest, and I felt something I'd never felt before. Not grief. Not anger. Just a deep, abiding certainty that justice would come. The funeral was a blur. Chloe was the star performer, weeping at the grave, accepting condolences, playing the devastated daughter. I stood apart, watching, waiting. My mother was buried next to our father. Under a oak tree she'd always loved, I placed a single white rose on her coffin and whispered, "I'll take care of it, I promise." The reading of the will was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Our mother's lawyer, a kind man named Mr. Henderson, who'd known our family for decades, gathered us in his office. Chloe arrived in black, her face carefully composed. I arrived in grey, carrying a large envelope. Henderson read the will standard provisions, everything split equally between us. The house, the retirement fund, the life insurance. About $400,000 each, after taxes and fees. Chloe dabbed at her eyes. It's what Mom would have wanted. I waited until Mr. Henderson asked if there were any questions. Then I stood up. Actually, I said, there's something I need to share before we proceed. I opened the envelope. Inside were photographs. Printed, impossible to deny. Chloe's diary entries. The vials. The scale. The notebook with recipes. The time-stamped photos of her preparing the tea. And the video, a single frame frozen on her face as she poured the poison. Chloe went pale. What is this? Where did you get? This is evidence, I said, my voice steady. Evidence that you've been poisoning our mother for months. Trying to accelerate her death so you could get your inheritance faster. The only reason she lasted as long as she did is because I found your diary and replaced the poison with harmless supplements. You've been killing her, Chloe. And I have it all on camera, Mr. Henderson's face went white. Chloe started shaking, her composure crumbling. That's insane. That's your lying. You've always been jealous of me. You're trying to frame me. I'm not framing you. I pulled out my phone, queued up the video. This is you, 3 weeks ago, pouring what you thought was poison into Mom's tea. This is the hidden camera I installed after I found your diary. And this, I held up the notebook, is your recipe book. Your handwriting. Your fingerprints. I had them tested. Chloe stood up, knocking over her chair. This is illegal. You can't, that's not admissible. It's admissible enough to give to the police, I said, along with the original vials, the diary, and a sworn affidavit from a pharmacist who will testify that this combination of ingredients is Desig. Ned to cause organ failure, so here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen, I repeated, my voice steady as stone. You're going to sign over your entire inheritance to me. Every penny. The house, the retirement fund, the insurance money. All of it. And then you're going to leave. Disappear. Change your name if you want. But if I ever see your face again, if I ever hear that you've contacted anyone in this family, I will take every piece of evidence I have to the police. And I will watch you die in prison. Chloe stared at me, her face cycling through shock, rage, and something that looked almost like respect. You're insane. You can't do this. This is blackmail. You'll go to prison too. Maybe, I said. But I have a very good lawyer, and you have a very long record of petty crimes and a very convincing motive. Who do you think a jury will believe? The responsible daughter who cared for her mother until the end, or the drug-addict baby sister who came home just in time to watch Mom die? I let that sink in. I have evidence. You have nothing. Sign the papers. Mayor Henderson, to his credit, recovered quickly. He was a family friend, but he was also a lawyer, and he understood the gravity of the situation. He looked at Chloe with an expression I'd never seen on his kindly face. Disgust. Pure, undisguised disgust. If what Claire says is true, and the evidence suggests it is, you're looking at first-degree murder charges. The statute of limitations hasn't even begun to run. She could go to the police today, and you'd be in custody by nightfall. Chloe's bravado crumbled. She started crying real tears this time, not the performative sobs at the funeral. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I needed the money. I'm in so much debt. I thought she was going to die anyway. I just wanted to speed it up. I didn't want her to suffer. Didn't want her to suffer. I laughed, a hollow, broken sound. You poisoned her. You watched her decline. You held her hand while she died, knowing you were the one killing her. And you didn't want her to suffer. You're a monster. She signed every page with shaking hands, tears streaming down her face. Mayor Henderson notarized the documents, his expression grim. When it was done, I gathered the papers, tucked them into my bag, and looked at my sister one last time. You have 24 hours to get out of the state. Leave your phone. Leave your car. Leave everything. Start over somewhere far away, and pray I never change my mind about calling the police. She fled. I watched her go, this woman who had shared my childhood, my DNA, my mother's love. She walked out of Mr. Henderson's office and out of my life forever. I never saw her again. The next 6 months were a strange, hollow time. I moved into my mother's house, my house now, and began the slow work of sorting through a lifetime of memories. Every object held a story. Every photograph a wound. I found letters my mother had written to me as a child, tucked into books. I found her wedding dress, preserved in tissue paper, still smelling faintly of her perfume. I found a journal of her own, filled with hopes for me and Chloe, dreams of grandchildren and family gatherings that would never happen. I cried more in those 6 months than I had in my entire life. But I also found something else, purpose. I used Chloe's inheritance to start a foundation, the Eleanor Vance Foundation for Hospice Integrity. It funds training for hospice workers, supports families of terminally ill patients, and advocates for stricter oversight of end-of-life care. I wanted something good to come from the horror. I wanted my mother's name to mean something other than betrayal. The foundation has grown beyond anything I imagined. We've trained thousands of workers. We've helped hundreds of families navigate the nightmare of watching a loved one die. And we've advocated for laws that make it harder for predators like Chloe to operate. Last year, a bill was passed in our state requiring background checks for all hospice employees and mandatory reporting of any suspicious patterns in patient decline. They named it Eleanor's Law. My mother's legacy isn't a stolen inheritance. It's a shield for other families. I think about Chloe sometimes. I've never looked her up. I've never tried to find her. I don't want to know if she's alive or dead, happy or miserable. She's a ghost, and ghosts belong in the past. But sometimes late at night, I wonder if she thinks about our mother. If she feels guilt or remorse or anything at all. I hope she does. I hope it eats at her, a slow poison of its own. As for me, I'm okay. I still live in my mother's house. I kept her bedroom exactly as it was, the same quilt, the same books, the same photograph of her and my father on their wedding day. Sometimes I sit in there and talk to her. I tell her about the foundation, about the families we've helped, about the laws that bear her name. I like to think she hears me. I like to think she's proud. The diary is in a safe deposit box, along with the vials and the photographs. I've never destroyed them. Part of me wants to let go of the evidence of such profound evil. But another part keeps them as a reminder. A reminder of what people are capable of. A reminder of why vigilance matters. A reminder that love and betrayal can live in the same heart, and sometimes the people closest to us are the most dangerous. I've learned to trust my instincts. I've learned to look beneath the surface, to question the easy explanations. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone seems too good to be true, they probably are. My mother taught me that in the end, not through her words, but through the horror of what her other daughter did. I don't know if what I did was right. I took the law into my own hands. I blackmailed my sister. I let her go free rather than face justice. Some would say I'm no better than her. But I also saved countless families from the same fate. I turned poison into purpose. I made sure. My mother's death meant something. Chloe wanted the money. She got nothing. I wanted justice. I got something better, the chance to protect others from the same betrayal. My mother's legacy isn't a bank account. It's a movement. It's a law. It's thousands of families who will never know how close they came to the same horror because someone was watching. I'm still watching. I'll always be watching. And if another Chloe tries to poison another mother, I'll be there. Eleanor's daughter, with Eleanor's law and Eleanor's unending, unwavering commitment to the truth. The diary is in the safe, but the story isn't over. It never really is.